Song 8. American Idiot. True or false? Circle T if it is true, F if it is false according to the lyrics. 1. I don't want to be an American idiot. 2. I don't want a nation under the new mania. 3. We're the ones who are meant to follow. Dictation. Listen and write down what you hear. 1. I don't want to be a loser. 2. I wonder if you can hear the sound of a stream. 3. We're not the guys who are meant to be yes men. 4. You know I'm not a part of that scheme. The story behind the song. Punk rock began in the 1960s with garage bands like Question Mark and the Mysterians, and extremely loud and fast Detroit hard rock bands, the MC5 and the Stooges. The Sex Pistols, The Clash, and other fresh-sounding bands appeared in London in the 1970s, influenced by reggae and rockabilly as well as Detroit. Similar nocturnal, leather-jacketed, and spiky-haired musical scenes brewed around the U.S. These bands wanted a fresh start, simple and powerful guitar chords to counteract the corporate, densely produced professionalized sound of bands like Boston, Electric Light Orchestra, and the Eagles. The punk movement always created community, a community of outsiders. It was often surprisingly tolerant of human differences. A venue for punk in San Francisco was a club for deaf people who enjoyed the vibrations of the extremely loud music and dancing. The popular dance was the pogo, jumping up and down in one spot like a child bouncing on the spring-loaded toy called a pogo stick. In the mosh pit in front of the stage, dancers good-naturedly banged into each other. In the 1990s, a new generation of punk continued, and Northern California had venues like the Commotion International in San Francisco and a building on Gilman Street in the university town Berkeley. Green Day were 3 young guys from Berkeley, but sometimes the lead singer, Billy Joe Armstrong, sang in an artificial English accent. They recorded numerous CDs for a loyal following. The band stayed together and in 2004 hit a nerve that turned out to be a vein of gold. The song, American Idiot, gives voice to the disgust many people, young and old, felt for the way the government and mass media used a flag-waving fear of foreign enemies to muster support for the U.S. invasion of Iraq. In an age of paranoia, with a new kind of tension since the attacks on New York and Washington, D.C. on September 11, 2001, the singer finds himself in a nation where everything isn't meant to be okay. He calls on the audience to do the propaganda as if it's a new dance. He gripes that the public agenda is set by rednecks, an insulting term for rural farmers whose necks are sunburned, who call their unpatriotic opponents faggot, homosexual. When one of this book's authors played the American Idiot CD in a design class while students worked on their projects, the majority of skeptical art students were delighted by it. Yet 2 young women in the class, whose husbands were serving overseas in Iraq, were disturbed by the song. Its message elicits strong emotions, either positively or negatively, in many American listeners. Among the album's other songs, Boulevard of Broken Dreams sounds melancholy as one by Paul Simon in the 1960s or Kurt Weill in the 1930s. While the title song American Idiot is angry punk, the well-crafted diversity of songs on the album helped win it high sales and even record industry awards. Exercise 4. Listen and fill in the blanks. Punk rock began in the 1960s and spread to the cities such as London, New York, and San Francisco. Punk bands wanted simplicity and raw power in their music to counteract the corporate densely produced sound on the radio that they found boring. At its best, the punk movement strived to create a community which is tolerant of human differences. In the 1990s, a new generation of punk blossomed in Northern California, which is where Green Day were from. In this song, they capture the mood of American youth fed up with the excessive patriotism for the Iraq War. Its message elicits strong emotions, either positively or negatively, in its American listeners.